the first visit to South Sudan by the AU Commission's new chair, and he flew in at a critical point. Over the weekend, 6 aid workers had been killed northwest of Juba. The impact on aid efforts here could be damaging, and Faki made clear his concern.
We strongly condemn and denounce the killing of the 6 humanitarian workers who have come here to help the people, and yet they have been killed, and so we appeal to the government and all the actors to protect humanitarian workers who are here to help the people of South Sudan.
South Sudan's government says it's still investigating.
There are gangs, thieves, who are lurking around the country, and they use the same uniform as the SPLA. They have the guns as the SPLA, and they can cause havoc in order to discredit the government.
Almost 88 workers have been killed since the conflict here broke out in December 2013. This is the single bloodiest incident. The victims were working for an agency aligned to UNICEF. Other agencies already are warning this will force them to review their activities in South Sudan. Both the African Union and the United Nations have called on South Sudan's leaders to end the conflict and allow humanitarian assistance to the millions of suffering South Sudanese. The African Union chairperson urged Juba to ensure the national dialogue is transparent and inclusive of all aggrieved parties to ensure peace returns to the country. Patrick Oyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
Well, for more on this now, we're joined by CGTN's Liling Tang, live from New York. Liling, of course, we just heard the AU Commission Chair strongly condemning the killings. Tell us more, though, about the UN's reaction to the killing of those aid workers in South Sudan.
Yes, the UN has condemned the attack, calling it appalling and utterly reprehensible, especially given that these aid workers were committed to easing the suffering of the people of South Sudan. Now, the UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, Stephen O'Brien, called for these attacks to stop immediately, saying that, or rather underscoring the scale of the humanitarian crisis that is now gripping South Sudan and the need for aid workers to be able to safely do their job and provide assistance. The UN envoy to South Sudan, David Shearer, also called this unacceptable, saying that, or rather urging the government of South Sudan to investigate and apprehend the killers, saying that not only does this threaten the lives of aid workers, it also threatens the lives of South Sudanese who are so dependent on the assistance they're providing.
Well, and of course, as you say, this is something that they're all calling for these attacks to stop. But what kind of action is the UN likely to take to ensure that international aid workers are indeed better protected in South Sudan?
Well, the UN has several options here. What's likely to happen is where we could see more pressure from the United Nations on the South Sudanese government to investigate these kinds of attacks, to apprehend those perpetrators and also hold them accountable for these crimes. But we could also see the UN Security Council revising the mandate of the UN mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, to better allow them to protect not just civilians but also humanitarian workers. And we could also see that extended to the regional protection force that is about to be deployed soon.